You're going to learn how to apply number formatting. If we look at the spreadsheet in front of us, you can see the numbers are large numbers and become very difficult to read. Sometimes it's difficult to distinguish between its thousands, millions, etc. And so we need a thousands and millions separator. It is very simple to do this. Type all your numbers and once finished, highlight all the cells and click on the comma option on the home ribbon, comma style. What you'll see is it separates your thousands with a space and puts 2 decimal places on it. It is so much easier to read the numbers now. Sometimes on your totals you wish to put currency. In order to do this, let's highlight our total figures here in row 7 and you'll click on the pile of money. If your computer's been set up according to your country, your currency symbol will appear. Let's click on that. As you can see, the R for rands appears. If I want to change the currency style, I can click on the arrow next to the number format icon and choose one of those, euro or pounds or dollars. You could select more accounting formats and change the symbol in the drop-down list over here. And there are many, many countries' currencies in this list. Let's change it to Canadian dollars. As you can see, it changes. And if I want to change it back, I click back on the currency symbol. If you wanted to remove the currency, you could merely click on the comma again. Alternatively, what you may want to do is right-click, format cells, and in the number tab, you could change it, the currency symbol here. You could change the number and the number of decimal places over here, etc. Sometimes a number that should be displayed as a percentage is displaying as a decimal. For example, let's type 15% as a decimal, 0.15. If I want to change this to a percentage, I can click on the percentage sign on my home ribbon, and this will convert it to a percent. Let's type a number with the decimal value. If I would like to remove the decimals and round it to the nearest 10, I could use the increase and decrease decimal places. So I need to decrease twice. Once, twice. It will now round it, and it will remove the decimals. If I wish to increase it again, click once, click twice. Please bear in mind, even when we've decreased it, if you look in the formula bar, it is still using the decimal amount. So if you were doing formulas, it would still be calculating the cents. In this unit, you're going to learn how to adjust row height as well as column width. If we look at the spreadsheet in front of us, you will see that there's a series of hash signs in every column. What this means is that the numbers are not fitting, or the column is not big enough to fit the numbers. There isn't anything wrong with the data in the columns, it just merely doesn't fit. So there are various options in order to make columns fit. Number one, you could drag it. This is always done in the column headings, A, B, C, D area. So for example, column B doesn't fit, so I will place my mouse between column B and column C. The mouse pointer will change to a double arrow, and you could drag it out manually. Alternatively, a quicker way would be to double click, and it will automatically fit. This is called auto fit. In other words, if the column's too small, it will make it bigger. If the column's too big, it will make it smaller. So in other words, it will fit exactly right. This whole spreadsheet doesn't fit though, so would I have to go click, 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 click on every single column? Is there any way I could just make all the columns fit at the same time? In Unit 1, you learned how to select the whole spreadsheet, and that is done by clicking on the triangle in the left-hand corner to select the entire spreadsheet. Once you've done that, you can go in between any one of the column letters and double-click, and it will auto-fit the whole column. Alternatively, I could highlight and drag from A to F and drag out one of the columns to the desired width, and they will all adjust to be the same size. Alternatively, if you were to do it from the ribbon, I'd make sure I was in the home ribbon and click on the arrow next to Format and choose Column Width. And here I would type the width of the column that I wanted. Let's say, for argument's sake, 15 characters, and OK. And they will all adjust to that column width. The same would apply for row height. Many times people would be going between the 1 and 2 on the line and dragging manually, and then doing the next row and dragging manually. The quickest way to do this would be to click in the corner to select the whole spreadsheet again, and drag one of the rows to the desired height. And as you can see, they're all that height now. You could also auto fit by row, just by going on the line in between the 2 and the 3, or between row 3 and 4, 4 and 5, and double clicking, and that will fit the row height exactly. Alternatively, I could highlight all the rows, click on once again the arrow next to Format on the home ribbon, and choose row height and adjust that to 15. As you can see, it's got a little bit bigger. Let's make it slightly bigger. Let's make it 20. And then we could double click to auto fit if you so wish. And how to insert rows and columns as well as delete rows and columns. Let's take the spreadsheet as an example. Perhaps I want to add a new month into the spreadsheet. After April, I want to put a column for May. So I would be needing to insert a column between column E and F. Let's click on the F. The reason why I'm clicking there is when you insert a column, it will go in front of the column you've chosen. There are various ways of doing it. To do it from the ribbon, on your home ribbon, you have an option to say Insert. And I'm just going to click on the button Insert. And if I click on it many times, it inserts more than one. If I want to delete, I would select the columns and click on Delete. If I wanted to do this on the keyboard, I would use the keyboard shortcut Control plus and Control minus. Please bear in mind, if you're working on a laptop and you don't have a side keypad, you would have to say Control Shift plus to insert, because the plus is at the top of the button, and just Control minus to remove. If I wanted to do this doing rows instead of columns, let's click on the 7. Remember, I'm clicking on the 7 because when I insert, it will insert a row above where I am. So in other words, between self and total. Once again, because I've selected a whole row, it knows and understands I want to insert a row. Once again, I'm going to click on the Insert button on the home ribbon and delete. Using the keyboard, once again, Control plus and Control minus to remove. Alternatively, I could right click on the F and click on Insert. Right click on the F again, click on Delete. If I were to right click using rows, click on the 7, right click, Insert, and to remove, right click, Delete. We're going to learn how to spell check our spreadsheet. I'd like you to click on the Review button, and in Review the very first icon is spelling. I'd like it to continue from the beginning of the document, so I'm going to click on Yes. Over here it shows the available suggestions. If that was in fact the correct word and I wanted to stay like that, I could even add it to the dictionary or choose to ignore it. But in this case it is spelt incorrectly, so I'm going to choose the correct word. Now I have on purpose spelt it wrong a few times in the document. So instead of going change, change, change every time, I'm going to click on Change All. And then it will tell me the spell check's been done. And as you can see, it's corrected both of them. Your spelling options sit in File and Options. And there's an option called Proofing. So you can choose to ignore words in uppercase, which is sometimes not always a good thing, or ignore words that contain numbers, etc. We're going to learn how to validate data by using data validation. It is exactly as the word suggests. Unfortunately, when people capture data into spreadsheets, the spelling differs, they type things differently, and then what happens is once you have to do a report on it, it comes up as two separate records. So you'd be very wise to put data validation on as many columns as you can if you're sending a spreadsheet out to be captured. For example, in column B, I'm selecting the whole column. This is where the person needs to capture whether they're from north, south, east, west. And I know that somebody's going to make spelling errors or type it differently, so I'm going to put data validation on this particular column. So to do this, click on Data, Data Validation, choose Data Validation from the drop-down list. I'm going to say allow only something from my list. Now my source is going to be these four over here. I would not normally type this here. I'd normally do it in another sheet and hide the sheet, or else very far down in the spreadsheet where somebody can't fiddle too much with it. So I'm going to click on the red arrow and I'm going to highlight that. So it's allow from list, select the source, click on OK. What happens now is there's a drop-down list on every cell in this column. If I did spell something wrong, it should say that I cannot do it. I can retry, but if I enter it again, it just doesn't allow me. Also, what you may want to do, let's select column B again, go back to data validation. You can put an input message here. So that you'll see now comes up with that little yellow description there. Okay, it makes it very user-friendly. I can also create my own error. So let's go back to data validation. So that's for your input message, and your error alert would be perhaps incorrect entry. You could be a little bit ruder here if you wanted. Okay, let's try and spell something wrong here. It will tell you incorrect entry. Please select from the drop-down list only. So you can see it validates what you are allowing into that column. So lists are not the only thing. For example, an ID number should be 13 characters long. So let's click on F, Data Validation. And in my settings, I'm going to say the text length must be, you can see you've got a minimum and a maximum greater than. Mine's going to be exactly equal to 13. My input message would be enter your ID number. And over here, please enter your 13-digit ID number. And your error would be something like incorrect number of digits. Please re-enter. So there's your help. Enter your ID number. Please enter your 13-digit ID number. Again, now if it was under that, it would say incorrect number of digits, please re-enter. So you can validate almost anything. You could also, you have validation, so dates between start date and end date. So if you want to keep them capturing dates within that year period instead of the wrong way around, you could do that here. You could say a decimal between a minimum of 2.5% and a maximum of 10%. Text length is very handy as well. If you worked with time, it can be greater than and less than, etc. So there is your setting. There is your little yellow input message, and there's what comes up if you go outside of the validation list.